Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well. So there's a good news for you. As many of you requested for prelims practice question series on Lakshmikant also, like we are doing for Nitin Singhania, that is for art and culture. So here it is. Here also I will be discussing 10 questions daily from Lakshmikant, and chapter wise we will be discussing the questions. So today I'll be starting with chapter 1, that is historical background. And Lakshmikant is a very important book because we get around 10 to 15 questions from polity in prelims. And since prelims is fast approaching, the countdown has begun. Now you that fear has started कि क्या होगा, कैसे होगा, revision कैसे होगा, याद कैसे होगा. So do not miss this series because through these questions you will be able to revise complete chapter very easily, and it will also help you in retaining the facts better or retaining the points better. Okay, and if you want, you can follow me on Telegram and Instagram. I am updating everything on Telegram, so you can follow me over there. Search Sampurti Memory Booster, the same channel as it is on YouTube, Sampurti Memory Booster on Telegram. You can follow me there. And please like the video if you are finding them helpful. Share them with your friends and subscribe the channel if you have not done it yet. So let's start. For starting with question number 1. Which of the following statement or statements is or are correct with respect to Regulating Act of 1773? The first statement says it laid the foundation of central administration in India. Second, it created an executive council of 4 members to assist the Governor General. And third, the Regulating Act of 1773 is also known as the Act of Settlement. The options are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or all the above. So you can pause the video, solve the question, take your time. I am telling you the answer here itself. See, the first statement is correct because the Regulating Act of 1773 laid the foundation of central administration in India. So this is correct. Second statement is also correct. It created an executive council of 4 members to assist the Governor General. But the third statement is wrong because it was not Regulating Act of 1773, but it was Amending Act of 1781. The Amending Act of 1781 is also known as the Act of Settlement. So 1 and 2, that means A option is the correct answer over here. So I have given you the correct answer here itself. Now, some additional points are there that I would like to tell you. Through this act, the Governor of Bengal was made the Governor General of Bengal. Okay. And it also provided for establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta. It also prohibited the servants of the company from engaging in any private trade or accepting bribes, etc. And the Court of Directors had to report to the British government on its revenue, civil and military affairs in India. That means that it strengthened the control of the British government over the company. That's why the Court of Directors, they have to report to the British government, right? So these were the important points from Regulating Act of 1773. Now question number 2. This act created for the first time a government of India having authority over the entire territorial area possessed by the British in India. Which of the following act is being referred to in the above passage? Charter Act of 1813, Charter Act of 1833, Charter Act of 1853, or Government of India Act 1858. Again, you can pause the video, solve the question, take your time. I am telling you the answer. The correct answer for this statement or for this question is option B. Charter Act of 1883 created for the first time a Government of India having authority over the entire territorial area. So option B is the correct answer, as you can see over here. So here is the answer. Now, if you read the statement carefully, it says having authority over the entire territorial area. And if you remember, this act, it changed the name to Governor General of India. From Governor General of Bengal, it changed the name to Governor General of India because the name suggests itself, India. So you can understand that it means entire territorial area. And the Governor General of India was given exclusive legislative powers for the entire British India. That means these government, or you can say the Governor of Bombay and Madras, they were deprived of their legislative powers because the Governor General of India was given exclusive legislative powers. And this Governor General of India was whom? Governor General of Bengal. And also William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India, right? Then before this act, the all the changes or all the previous acts, the laws made under the previous acts, they were called regulations, but from here they were called acts. Now they were no more known as regulations but acts. And also earlier it was a commercial body, but now it was a purely administrative body. The commercial body or the commercial functions were stopped. It ended the activities of the East India Company as a commercial body, and it became a purely administrative body. And finally, it attempted to introduce, very important point, please do not get confused over here. It attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of civil servants, but it was finally not able to do so. It just attempted, it just gave it a try, okay? And finally, the system of open competition, it was introduced through Charter Act of 1853. Macaulay Committee was there. Okay, Macaulay Committee was set up for that in 1854. So these were the important points of Charter Act of 1833. Now, third question. Identify the correct statement or statements from the following in context to Pitt's India Act of 1784. The first statement says the company's territories in India were for the first time called the British possessions in India. Second, the British government was given the supreme control over company's affairs and its administration in India. The options are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. So pause the video, solve the question. I am telling you the answer. The correct answer for this question is option C. Both 1 and 2. Both the statements given here are correct. So the correct answer is option C. The company's territories in India were for the first time called the British possessions in India now. And the British government was given the supreme control over company's affairs and its administration in India. Now, a very important point that this act, it distinguished between the commercial functions and the political functions of the company. The commercial functions, they were taken care by court of directors. As you can see, court of directors, they dealt with commercial functions, and the political functions were dealt by board of directors, as you can see over here. And the board of directors were also given the function or the work to supervise the operations of civil and military government or revenues of the British possessions in India. So this act, it distinguished, it differentiated or divided the commercial and the political functions of the company. Now, question 4. And yes, it sort of created a double government, or you can say dual government. Why? Because we had two functions now, commercial different and political different, right? So it was like establishment of double government, right? Question 4. Select the correct statement or statements from the following with reference to the Charter Act of 1853. The first statement says it ended the system of double government. Second, it introduced an open system of selection and recruitment of civil servants. Third, it introduced local representation in the Indian Legislative Council for the first time. And four, it separated the legislative and executive functions of the Governor General's Council for the first time. The options are 1, 2 and 3 only, 2, 3 and 4 only, 1, 3 and 4 only, or 1, 2 and 4 only. Pause the video, solve the question, read the statements carefully. I am telling you the answer. The first statement, it ended the system of double government, is wrong because it was not Charter Act of 1853 but Government of India Act 1858 which ended the system of double government. So the first statement is wrong. So we can eliminate A, C and D option. So option B is the correct answer. All the other three statements are correct. So option B is the correct answer because Charter Act of 1853 did not end the system of double government. It was ended by a Government of India Act 1858. And as I told you about Macaulay Committee, it was appointed in 1854 after the system of selection and recruitment of civil servants was introduced, open system, right? And it introduced local representation, and a very important point that it separated the legislative and executive functions of the Governor General's Council. Also, it extended the company's rule and allowed it to retain the possession of Indian territories on trust for the British crown, a very important point. So this was all, or these were the major points about Charter Act of 1853. Coming to question 5. Consider the following statement or statements in context to the Indian Councils Act of 1861. The options are: it initiated the process of decentralization. Second, it empowered the viceroy to issue ordinances during an emergency. And third, it gave a recognition to the portfolio system. Which of the above given statement or statements is or are correct? 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or all the above? So again, pause the video, solve the question. I'm telling you the answer. Here, all the three statements given are correct. So option D is the correct answer, right? All the above. Option D is the correct answer, as it initiated the process of decentralization. That means there was the policy of legislative devolution, and it resulted in the grant of almost complete internal autonomy to the provinces. So it initiated the process of decentralization. That means the policy of legislative devolution, right? It empowered the viceroy to issue ordinances during an emergency, like you must have read it in the chapter of President, Article 123. And it gave a recognition to the portfolio system. Very important point. Portfolio system means that there were departments, and every member or a particular member, not every member, a particular member was given the charge of the departments, right? And he was authorized to issue final orders on behalf of the council on matters of his department. So that was portfolio system. And it made a beginning of representative institutions by associating Indians with the lawmaking process. If you remember, we had in 1862 Lord Canning, he nominated 3 Indians, which included Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. And finally, as I told you, the portfolio system, it was introduced by Lord Canning in 1859, but the recognition was given by Charter Act, by Indian Councils Act of 1861. That means Lord Canning, he introduced this system in 1859, but the recognition was granted only in 1861. So if a question comes that who introduced the system of or who introduced the portfolio system, so it was Lord Canning. Question 6. Identify the correct statement or statements from the following with respect to the Act for the Good Government of India. A very important question, because you can solve this only if you know which act we are talking about. So to simplify it for you, I am telling you we are talking about Government of India Act 1858 over here, because Government of India Act 1851 was known as the Act for the Good Government of India. So the first statement says the Viceroy was the direct representative of the British Crown in India. Second, it ended the system of double government. And third, the Council of India, established to assist the Secretary of State for India, was an advisory body. So you have to pick the correct answer from the options 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, or all the above. So again, you can pause the video, take your time, solve the question. I am telling you the correct answer. So over here, the correct answer is D option. That means all the statements given here are correct. Option D. As the Viceroy was the direct representative of the British Crown in India now. And as I told you earlier, that this act, it ended the system of double government. And the Secretary of State, the office of the Secretary of State for India was established. As you can see here, this act created a new office known as Secretary of State for India, which was vested with complete authority and control over administration. So when this office was created, so a Council of India, this body, the Council of India, was also established to assist the Secretary of State, and it was an advisory body, right? And Governor General of India was now known as Viceroy. So if you remember, by Charter Act of 1773, we changed the name to Governor General of Bengal. Then with Act of 1833, we changed the name to Governor General of India. And finally, with Government of India Act 1858, we changed the name to Viceroy. Okay. And it constituted the Secretary of State in Council also, as a body corporate capable of suing and being sued in India and in England. So these were the important points regarding Government of India Act 1858. Question 7. Select the correct statements from the following in context to Indian Council Act of 1909. That means Indian Council Act of 1909 means we are talking about Morley-Minto reforms, right? It retained official majority in the provincial legislative councils. And second statement says, Satyendra Prasad Sinha became the first Indian to join Viceroy's Executive Council. Third statement says it introduced a system of direct election. The options are 2 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, or 1 and 3 only. So pause the video, read the statements carefully, solve the question. I'm telling you the answer. Here the first statement is wrong because the official majority was retained only in central legislative councils. Okay, whereas in provincial legislative councils there was non-official majority in provincial legislative councils. So here we are talking about provincial legislative councils. So it was not official majority but non-official majority in provincial legislative councils. The second statement is correct. If you have watched the video on Morley-Minto reforms I have uploaded on YouTube, I have helped you learn all the points of Morley-Minto reforms with the help of memory technique. With the help of a peacock, we have learned entire provisions of Morley-Minto reforms. So I'm giving you the link in the description below. Do not forget to watch that video if you have not watched it yet. Right. So Satyendra Prasad Sinha, those who have watched the video must be recalling that rhinoceros had that horn. So seeing Sinha, so this statement is correct. Satyendra Prasad Sinha became the first Indian to join Viceroy's Executive Council. And the third statement is also wrong because the system of direct election was introduced by Government of India Act 1919. So only second statement is correct. That means option A is the correct answer, as you can see here. So I have given you the correct statements here. It retained official majority in the central legislative councils and non-official majority in the provincial legislative councils. Satyendra Prasad Sinha became the first Indian to join Viceroy's Executive Council, and system of direct election was introduced in Government of India Act 1919. The other points are it considerably increased the size of the legislative councils, both central as well as provincial. It enlarged the deliberative functions of the legislative councils at both the levels. That means by Indian Councils Act of 1892, they could not ask supplementary questions. They can only discuss the budget, but now they can move resolutions on budget. They can ask supplementary questions. That means the deliberative functions of the legislative councils were enlarged. And it provided for the first time for the association of Indians with the executive councils of the viceroys and governors. And finally, the very famous point that it introduced a system of communal representation for Muslims by accepting the concept of separate electorate. Right. Question number 8. Consider the following statements. It introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. It abolished the Council of India established by the Government of India Act 1858. And third statement says it provided for the establishment of a Provincial Public Service Commission. Which of the following act is being referred to in the above passage? The options are Indian Councils Act 1892, Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935, or Indian Independence Act 1947. So pause the video, solve the question. I'm telling you the answer. If you read the statements carefully, you can make out that it is Government of India Act 1935. Option C is the correct answer. Because bicameralism was introduced by 1919 Act, but it says 6 out of 11 provinces. So this was done by 1935 Act. Then it says it abolished the Council of India. So this was again done by 1935. Statement 1 and statement 3 must give you a hint because here we are talking about Provincial Public Service Commission, whereas in 1919 Federal or Central Public Service Commission was created. Central Public Service Commission was created. Then in 1935 the Provincial and Joint Public Service Commission was created, or like it provided for the establishment of provincial and joint public service commissions also. So the correct answer is Government of India Act 1935, option C. The other points are that it provided for the establishment of an All India Federation, which never came into being, if you remember. Then it introduced provincial autonomy and adoption of diarchy at the center, unlike Government of India Act 1919. By Government of India Act 1919, there was diarchy at the provincial level, but here it was provincial autonomy and diarchy was introduced at the center. Then it further extended the principle of communal representation, because now the depressed classes, the women and the labor class was also given representation. Okay, so it extended the principle of communal representation. Then it extended franchise. By why it extended franchise? Because now about 10% of the population got the voting right. About 10% of the total population got the voting right. And it provided for the establishment of a Reserve Bank of India and for a federal court, which was set up in 1937. So all these statements are correct. Now, question number 9. Which of the following statement or statements is or are correct with respect to the Government of India Act 1919? The statement says it granted franchise to people on the basis of property tax and education. Second, it provided for the establishment of a joint public service commission. Third, it separated provincial budgets from the central budget. The options are 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, or 1 and 3 only. Now, if you read the statements carefully, just now in the previous question I told you that Joint Public Service Commission was established by 1935 Act. That means this statement is wrong. We can eliminate option 2. So we are left only with, we can eliminate statement 2. So we are left with option A and option D. Now, one is common in both of them. That means we have to think of statement 3. It separated provincial budgets from the central budget. This statement is correct. That means 1 and 3 only is the correct answer. So option D is the correct answer. The other points are, it relaxed the central control over the provinces by demarcating and separating the central and provincial subjects. If you remember, it was like central and provincial, and then the provincial subjects were further divided into transferred and reserved. So it was like provincial diarchy. A system of dual government was there. Basically, we will not say dual government, that it was like the dual scheme of governance was there basically. Yes. Okay, provincial diarchy was there. So it introduced diarchy in the provinces. It introduced for the first time bicameralism and direct elections in the country. But bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces, it was by 1935 Act. But for the first time, bicameralism was introduced by Government of India Act 1919. Then 3 of 6 members of the Viceroy's Executive Council to be Indians. Also, it extended the principle of communal representation, because see, it was like this. 1909, it introduced the system of communal representation and it was given to Muslims only. 1919, it was given to these Indian Christians plus 6 plus Anglo-Indians plus Europeans. And finally, Government of India Act 1935, it further extended the principle of communal representation and it gave it to depressed classes plus women and labor class also. Okay, so it kept on increasing from 1909 to 1935. And finally, a new office of High Commissioner for India in London was set up or was created. The last question for today, question number 10. Select the correct statement or statements from the following with reference to the Indian Independence Act of 1947. The first statement says it continued the office of the Secretary of State for India. Second, the right to veto bills was reserved for the Governor General. Which of the statements are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2? So you can solve the question yourself after pausing the video and telling you the answer. Here the first statement is wrong because it abolished the office of the Secretary of State for India. The second statement is right, that the right to veto bills was reserved for the Governor General. So option B is the correct answer. Okay, statement 2, that means option B is the correct answer. The other points are, it abolished the office of Viceroy also, and it provided for each dominion a Governor General who was to be appointed by the British King on the advice of the Dominion Cabinet. Also, it empowered the constituent assemblies of the two dominions of India and Pakistan to frame and adopt any constitution for the respective nations and to repeal any act of the British Parliament, including the Indian Independence Act itself. And the last point says it granted freedom to the Indian princely states, a very, very important point. It granted freedom to the Indian princely states either to join the Dominion of India or the Dominion of Pakistan, or to remain independent, a very important point. So with this, we complete all the 10 questions today, and we also completed chapter 1. So tomorrow we will be discussing chapter 2, that is making of the constitution. So stay tuned. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day. Thank you.